What's up, everybody? Eddie here, and I think it's interesting as we look at the scope of media in the United States and we see the amount of marketing that's put into eating well and the different foods that are available for all of us to consume. Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, all of these different brands, even things like Chipotle that are possibly seemingly healthy, or even Subway at one point was marketed as health food. All these different these marketing tactics that these companies use are really interesting because they do work for the most part, right? If you see a commercial, you often think of those brands, but I think it's important to think about the underlying motive of the people in these brands. Now, not all of these people are bad. Some of you are probably advertisers in marketing. Marketing is, have at it. If you want to market, good for you. But it's important to know one thing particularly about different marketing tactics. Their goal is not your health. Coca-Cola's goal is not your health. Coca-Cola's goal is actually revenue. That's their goal. They want you to buy by any means necessary. And so that's important for you to know. Not everybody is in charge of your health. You have to be in charge of your health. We cannot rely on teachers and food pyramids and marketing tactics that tell you things are healthy, packaging that tells you it's healthy. Those things are not trying to help you. What they're trying to do is get you to buy food. For instance, one of the most interesting things that happened in recent years was this idea of grass-fed animals coming back into the forefront. Well, grass-fed is a great way to go. It's 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef from local farms is an incredibly healthy food, despite what many of you might even think even right now. It is a healthy food. And what's happened in modern days is that this label, grass-fed, was being used by farmers and organic farmers, different people, organic companies rather, and they've been trying to get people to buy this. Well, now we know that it was ruled that the term grass-fed doesn't mean something specific, and now anyone can use this term. And so now you've seen a wide variety of other companies begin to use the framing of grass-fed as healthy. And we know that that's just not true. And so you'll go into something like the grocery outlet or a cheaper grocery store and look at the cheap meat. You'll see grass-fed meat and you go, oh, this grass-fed beef is so much cheaper. Well, that grass-fed beef isn't actually grass-fed beef. That cow probably ate grass at one time, but it's not a grass-fed beef. And that is what I'm talking about here. The food marketing out there is not trying to be your friend. It is trying to screw you over and trying to get you to buy their product, not worried about your health. So what this means is that you are in charge of your health. Yeah, that's right. You're in charge. And so in this video, I want to give you 6 big health hacks to get your life back, to get you being and running optimally, to live a lifestyle that is after God, after family, after friends, and to regain control over your own psyche and your own brain and your own life. And so I'm going to give you 6 principles here. They're going to help you jumpstart your diet and health, particularly for those people that are of the Christian faith. But here's the thing, these principles work for everybody. It's just that the philosophy and the framework that I work from is from the Bible. So here's the first thing you need to understand to hack your health. You need to focus in on food quality, not food quantity. Yes, I know, if you go to any place in the United States, any fast food restaurant, you're gonna see the number of calories now printed on the fast food menus at Wendy's, Jack in the Box, Burger King, McDonald's, all of them. In-N-Out Burger, you're gonna see the calorie number. And your temptation is gonna be to read that number and to see that if it's low, I can eat. If it's high, I don't eat, right? That's what you're gonna think. But I hate to tell you this, the idea of counting calories is not a good way to look at health. I mean, just look at the quick analogy of drinking 3,000 calories versus soda or eating 4,000 calories versus vegetables, fruit, grass-fed beef, and animals. Which one's healthier? 3,000 calories of soda or 4,000 calories of healthy food? Of course we know the answer to that. This food is not the same as that food. All food is not created equal. All calories are not created equal. So we have to understand that first. It's not about the quantity of food, it's about the quality of food. You have to focus in on quality. This doesn't mean, and this should be freeing for you for a little bit, because this means you don't have to think about weighing your food on a scale just yet. You certainly don't have to think about counting any sort of calories. What you do need to focus in on is how can I get high quality foods to eat as close to the food as the way God had made it. And so this means going to farms and buying grass-fed meats, getting high-quality pastured eggs, going to farmers markets and getting good, delicious vegetables, organic vegetables, eating good fruit, and drinking things like water, coffee, and tea instead of drinking sugar drinks like, I don't know, whatever you're drinking, Lipton iced tea or Tang, or is anyone still drinking Tang anymore? Instead of drinking those drinks, focus in on high quality things that you can consume. Hack your food quality over the food quantity. Now, poor food quality is going to come in a variety of ways. You're going to talk about hot foods with really, really high sodium, really, really high sugar, really, 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 really high carbohydrates. And by the way, all carbohydrates aren't even created equal anymore. And so you've got simple, more fast digesting carbohydrates, better for right after workouts, and you've got long, slow digesting carbohydrates, like things like sweet potatoes. So you're gonna have to do some research on what sort of foods are gonna be best for you. Proper food actually turns off your hunger hormone as well. And so you have a hunger hormone in your body called ghrelin, and ghrelin tells you when to eat and when not to eat. And if ghrelin is satisfied, then you're full, and if it's not, you wanna eat. Well, when you eat poor foods, especially ones with high sugar, they turn on your hunger hormone ghrelin. It wants you to consume more and more and more. And so if you've ever eaten a meal and you've been hungry later, that's because that food triggered your ghrelin levels much higher. But high quality food will allow you to satisfy ghrelin and to not be hungry all day. And so you won't be needing to graze on potato chips. And that's why Lay's, again, back to marketing, says you bet you can't just eat just one, because they've actually genetically modified their food to turn on ghrelin so that way you wouldn't be able to eat just one. So remember, marketers are not your friend. They are after you. They want your pocketbook, not necessarily your health. And so again, food quality over quantity. Now that you've figured out quality over quantity, the next thing you have to do is eliminate what I'm going to call decimating foods. You have foods that build you up, and you have foods that tear you down. And these are some of the sort of kryptonite. Think about Superman, and he has kryptonite, right? Kryptonite he can't be near because it destroys him. Well, your decimating foods are your kryptonite, and you want to avoid these like the plague because they are going to harm your body. Even if you consider yourself Superman, even Superman has a kryptonite, and these are your kryptonite. So first, kryptonite is fried food. Fried food, things that have been oxidized in fat. So when you fry things at really high levels, that fat oxidizes and it makes it toxic for your body to ingest. And so you want to avoid fried food. People say, oh, I love fried chicken and I love this. Well, yeah, it tastes good. It's just killing you. So yes, there is a trade-off. If you want a momentary pleasure on your lips or you want to die sooner, of course, I know I'm being general, but it is true. The more high fats you eat, it oxidizes that fat. When you ingest it, it's very inflammatory. And so your body creates inflammation in it to fight it off. And by the way, chronic inflammation is the number one precursor to all Western modern disease. So you want to pretty much limit as much inflammation as you can. And eating fried foods is very, very, very difficult for your body to handle. So be very careful with those. The other thing to remember about what to fry your food in is you want to choose fats that have a high smoke point so they don't oxidize and start bubbling at high speeds. And one of those things is ghee. And so you can actually cook with a higher smoke point with ghee, which is a clarified version of butter. I encourage you to get grass-fed ghee and cook with that at high temperatures. Otherwise, cook low and slow for most foods. And so if you're frying eggs, don't cook them super fast, and the yolks, by the way, get damaged anyway. Just slow down. Use coconut oil or grass-fed butter. Don't use olive oil. Olive oil is monounsaturated fat. It's very good fat to eat, especially drizzled over salads. But once you heat it, it oxidizes too quick, right? So you don't want that either. So be very careful about which fats you're choosing because some fats are kryptonite and will cause inflammation. Again, I've already talked about this one, but the next decimating food is sugar. You should probably avoid sugar like the plague as well. Sugar causes inflammation. It's in all sorts of junk food. People tried to say saturated fat was the cause of many of these Western diseases. What we're finding is actually inflammation, and sugar causes the most inflammation. It triggers ghrelin. It makes you incredibly hungry. Sugar feeds cancer, so you don't want cancer, and if you certainly don't want to feed it. So get rid of sugar in that respect. I would say limit your sugar to under 30 grams. 40 or 50 if you're working out. That's my personal preference because I think the lowest sugar, the better. I played football for a lot of years. I played in the NFL and I played in college, obviously. And I don't want inflammation in my body because I know inflammation causes lots of helps aid lots of degenerative brain conditions. And I want to avoid inflammation. I don't want my joints to hurt. I don't want my back to hurt. I've had back surgeries. I don't want my brain to have brain fog constantly. And so inflammation is something I want to avoid, which means I want to avoid sugar. So sugar, use different substitutes for sugar. There are things like xylitol and erythritol, which are great substitutes for sugar and have a little bit of carbs in them, but usually those are offset. And you also want to use something like stevia. Now I've heard people say, oh, stevia is so bitter. Well, yeah, that's because you've been eating sugar for so long that stevia tastes bitter to you. After you quit sugar, stevia tastes fantastic, and you can actually use it. One of the desserts that my wife likes to make is we'll take coconut cream and whip it in the mixer and add some stevia to it, and it tastes like whipped cream. And you can put that on some really good berries, things like that. Which berries are also really another good dessert for you to eat, and they don't have a lot of sugar in them. So avoid sugar, find good sugar substitutes. Another decimating food you don't want to eat is junk oil. There are lots of junk oils out there in junk foods, but then I'm shocked to find that people are actually still pouring junk oils all over their foods. And so things like sunflower oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil, canola oil, peanut oil, these are all really, really junky oils. And don't be swayed by some of the changes in the words. In fact, manufacturers know that these are junk food now. And so they're starting to find these scientific words for the oil. You want to avoid something like a hydrogenated oil that's going to kill you very fast. Avoid those sort of junk oils. They're hidden in everything. And again, you don't want inflammation, and these junk oils cause inflammation in the body, and your body just doesn't know what to do with them. And so junk oils cause heart attacks, stroke, cancer. Why would you ingest something that's going to kill you faster just to have a momentary pleasure of a piece of fried chicken or in some sort of junk food candy bar? It seems silly, but what I would tell you to do is there's plenty of other really good oils that taste better and are better for you. So just get those. Things like grass-fed butter, people have thought it was been terrible, and they've substituted vegetable oil for it. Vegetable oil is horrible for human beings. Because it has the word vegetable in it does not mean it's good for you. In fact, grass-fed butter from cows is a fantastic butter, but only grass-fed butter, not regular butter. Regular butter is from industrialized cattle, and that cow has had their heads typically locked in vice grips and being fed city garbage, GMO grain, GMO corn, and that food is just going to kill you over time, and that causes more inflammation as well. Remember, we don't want inflammation in our bodies, so you want to avoid that as well. Go for things like grass-fed butter and grass-fed ghee. Go for things like coconut oil, really good. I like to use MCT oil or brain octane oil or just regular MCT oil are very good for us to consume. The medium chain triglycerides in those are very good for your brain, and so I would encourage you to use that. And basically, that's extracted out of coconut oil, and so you can use coconut oil as well. Another kryptonite food, anything that's boxed. Boxed snacks are typically fried in oils and have hydrogenated oils or different fake sugars in them. You essentially want to leave those alone. They're going to spike your ghrelin as well, and you're going to be hungry constantly when you eat those. And so empty calorie crackers, like graham crackers or Ritz crackers or Cheez-Its or bags of chips, all of that stuff is just going to make you more hungry, and it's going to cause inflammation in the body. And it's also really calorically dense, and so you're going to get hit from all sides when you eat these things from the box. People do typically say eat on the outside of the grocery store. That's typically good wisdom. Eat on the outside of the grocery store. You're going to hit your produce. You're going to hit your meats. That's great places to go, but I would avoid most of the bakery, at least for the time being, except for things like ancient grains, sprouted grains, things like good, high-quality ancient sourdough bread are really good for humans to digest. But when it comes to gluten, you should be very, very careful because some of us are gluten intolerant. The way we've treated bread over history has actually not served us really well. And we've ruined the soil that the grain grows in, and we've actually ruined the grain itself, and we've actually sprayed the crops with things like glyphosate. It's just ruined bread, and so that's why there's so many of these different gluten intolerances and people that have celiac disease is because some of the things that we've done. You may notice that if you go overseas to another country where they don't have that same sort of problem with their crops, that the bread actually you don't feel as terrible after eating it. That's a good sign. If you go to places like Italy or other countries where they haven't had they have way more restrictive agriculture laws, you're actually going to find that the bread is actually pretty good, probably tastes better, and also is actually better for you But in the United States, I'd stay away from anything you can buy in a plastic bag in a grocery store unless it's an ancient grain or sprouted grain. Okay, so you've got your decimating foods, your kryptonite, and then you have to have also, conversely, your restorative foods. Now, these are kind of like your foods that are going to make you bulletproof or make you invincible. These are the foods that are going to build you up, and you want these foods. So, right, so what are some of the things? First, vegetables. You want greens. You want fiber. You want folic acid. You want the phytonutrients that come from greens. And so I would encourage you always load up your plate with spinach, and with arugula and different salads, romaine. Load up your plates with these. These are fantastic for you to eat. Kale is fine. One of the issues with kale, though, is that our bodies actually can't digest it super well. So typically you have to saute it lightly in some good oil to be able to digest it well. Eating raw kale sometimes can be very, very difficult to process for some people, so be careful for that. Frying greens in oil makes them, or bad oil, makes them, junk oil especially, is immediately unhealthy. So if you're like, I'm having greens with my meal, and you've got cornbread there, and you've got mac and cheese, and you've got like fried greens in vegetable oil, or fried greens in industrial butter, those greens are immediately bad for you. So don't eat those. Boiled greens typically boils out all the nutrients, so they're not necessarily bad for you, but you're not going to get as much of the good stuff. So I'd stay clear of those as well. I like to blend my greens. It's just an easy way for me to ingest them. I don't always have time to sit and put a bunch of lettuce and stuff on my plate. But what I do is I just have a green shake. I have a greens powder that I'll use. And that, I'll put a link in the description for the greens powder as well if you're interested in what brand I use. And then I'll just add some extra greens to it and some other vegetables. That helps me get those in. So greens are good. Your next restorative food is a high quality fat. We've been told fat's bad for us for a long time. I've already mentioned that. Good fat is actually good for us. Remember, I've mentioned the key ones: grass-fed ghee or clarified butter, grass-fed beef butter, grass-fed beef from cows, grass-fed butter from cows is really good. You can get high quality fats from grass-fed animals like cows or lamb. Really, really high quality fat in those meats. We've been told those fat is bad, and we cut off the fat off our meat. It's actually quite silly knowing that if we actually have a high quality animal, that's really high quality fat. If we have a really bad animal, you actually don't want to eat the fat off of it. In fact, so if you go to a restaurant and order a steak, and you go to, let's say, Texas Roadhouse, you're going to eat a really industrial animal, I'd encourage you to cut the fat off that meat. It's not really good for you. All the toxins are held in the fat, so get rid of the fat off of that animal, or try to order the leanest cut of meat that they have if you're in that situation. Wild caught fish, high quality fats like salmon, high levels of omega-3. Farmed fish, not so much. Farm fish is about one of the worst things you can eat. A lot of people will go to a restaurant and they'll go to like Applebee's or something and they'll order the fish. And you're typically eating farmed fish in that situation, and farm fish is disgusting. Farm fish is fed corn and grain underwater in these feedlots, and they kind of shove the fish to this one part of the area where they have to eat this disgusting food. And then they fatten them up, and then they kill them, and guess who gets to eat the fat where all those toxins are? You get to eat it. And so if you buy a piece of salmon, it's got really big white lines in it, really thick, big white lines. You can assure yourself that that's a farmed piece of fish, especially if the salmon's like extra, extra pale or orange instead of bright red or like a bright orange. Bright orange, good. Pale pink, not good. Now, pale pink after cooked is fine, but when it's pale pink or orange when you're cooking it, or light orange, that's usually not a good sign. It's probably not a healthy animal. Another good source of high quality fat is pastured eggs. Pastured eggs are fantastic. They're packed with vitamin K2. You want these. They're delicious. They have 6 grams of protein typically, about 6 grams of fat. Eating regular eggs, typically you're getting a poor quality egg. So if you eat just a white egg, if you see your egg is white, typically it means it's been processed, and that chicken probably was stuck in a barn, not getting sunlight, and probably died on its back in some disgusting way. I encourage you to avoid eggs like that. Get pasture-raised eggs from people that raise their chickens well, and those chickens are free to roam and eat. If you are buying eggs, this is a really important tip, and the box says fed a vegetarian diet, you can be sure that chicken probably ate a bunch of grains and probably ate a bunch of corn, maybe some grass as well. But here's the thing, chickens are not vegetarians. So if they're fed a vegetarian diet, you know that their diet was manipulated. You want chickens that are being able to free and roam and eat grubs off the grass, and so they eat worms and bugs, and they also eat flies, and they may even eat mice. field mice. And then they also eat things like grass, alfalfa sprouts, and things like that. And so you want pasture-raised eggs. This is a superfood. You absolutely want to make sure you have them. And yes, they're about $1 or $2 more expensive at the store, like going to Sprouts or going to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or wherever on Amazon. But it's worth the price. And you can even get them now really at Safeway. So I encourage you. Another good and last good superfood for you, another restorative food you want to eat is really high quality starches. And so some people eat low carb diet, that's fine. I think it's well said for you to eat different versions of really good starches. And here's my list. High quality yellow, I guess they call them white sweet potatoes, and red sweet potatoes. Yams are technically different, but oftentimes they'll sell them as sweet potatoes. Be very careful. Orange is what you want. If they're bright red, that's probably an African yam and it's probably high in sugar. That's not what we want. You want orange sweet potatoes or white/yellow sweet potatoes. High quality, really good to eat, and they're very tasty. White rice and brown rice are both high quality foods, totally fine to eat. Typically you want jasmine rice, long grain, very, very good. Around working out, those are the best times to eat those foods. Some people do well with gluten-free oats. Again, if you're going to eat bread, you want to eat ancient bread. You want to eat ancient grains. Aim for that. Ancient grains like, remember the sourdough we talked about, or Ezekiel 4:9 bread, also really good. Aim for those foods if you are going to eat bread. And so now you've got your restorative foods, right? We've got your decimating foods, but you've got to there's some other tips you're going to need in order to continually improve your health over the long haul. The next thing you need to do is just to move all day. Think about yourself moving all day. Now, we've devolved as a human society now where we used to move all day and now we don't. We actually sit still. We don't want to sit still all day. That's actually really hard for us. And some of us have work where we sit at a desk all day. You have no choice. Totally understand, but you need to move the rest of the time. And so make sure you're going on long walks in between on your breaks. Try a walking lunch. Some people try stand-up desks. Some people try treadmill desks. I haven't done a treadmill desk. I can imagine those are probably okay, but they're probably expensive. I opt for walking all throughout the day. I'll go on multiple long walks. I'll walk to the grocery store if you're in walkable community. Ride your bike. Just stay moving all the time. Download an app on your phone like MyFitnessPal to track your food, but then they also have one that's called Map My Walk that's very closely related, same company. Map My Walk, just so you can track how many miles you're walking a day, helps you. If you have a counter on your hand, tell you to walk 10,000 steps, try to walk 15,000 steps if you can all day. Make sure you're working out a couple times a week and do things fun. Go on bike rides, go surfing, do things that you enjoy, go skiing, go outside and just enjoy, hang out with your kids, hang out with your friends, and just be moving around, hitting a volleyball round, hitting a soccer ball, playing spike ball, whatever it is, just stay moving. The next thing you want to do if you're worried about, trying to get this health back, right? You're looking on these health hacks. You need to plan to sleep well. A lot of us, our sleep is terrible, and we've got to think about how well we can sleep and improving the sleep. It's important to know that a lot of the different lights, even the lights in this room here, zap your energy and mess up your circadian rhythm. And so one of the hacks that I use is blue blocking glasses. And so if I take a late flight at night, you'll see me with big red glasses on so I can block out all of the junk light so I can sleep on the plane. Things like that are really helpful. Even if you're in your home and you're watching TV late, throw on blue blocking glasses while you're watching television. If you're looking at your phone, typically people, the reason why they stay up is they can't sleep because they're looking at their phone. Get rid of your phone out of the room for one, but if you really just can't, throw blue blocking glasses on. Watch how fast you fall asleep looking at your phone through blue blocking glasses because your circadian rhythm isn't affected by it. So be careful with that. Try to aim from somewhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I know some people do better with 6.5 or so, but typically no more than 9 hours because then if you can oversleep, a lot of studies show that oversleeping leads to lower life expectancy. And so be very careful for that. You want to hit the right amount. And then sleep with your room as dark as possible. A lot of us have like glowing lights or alarm clocks or open windows. Shut everything, right? Shut all of it. Make people think that a serial killer lives in there because everything is boarded up and you want your room to be a cave when you sleep so you can get the most. You don't want the sun to wake you up, especially in the summers at 5 a.m. If you want to be able to sleep till 6 or 6:15, 6:30, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you've got that window blocked out. So block out curtains, blue blocking glasses in home, unplug your alarm clock. You don't need that. And then the next thing is turn your phone on airplane mode. Your phone actually will emit different EMFs and it'll wake you up out of your sleep. So you be very careful. If you put your phone on airplane mode, then it won't transmit, and so that won't wake you up as well. I actually have EMF filters plugged into in the walls of my room. It's a way to kind of filter out some of the EMFs from the outside world. So if there's power lines next door or cell phone towers, you want to make sure you block those as well so they don't wake you up. Okay, that was that. So you want to make sure you sleep, but then there is one last health hack for you, and that's this: you've got to de-stress. We know that stress is probably the #1 killer besides inflammation. It's just killing people. You've got to figure out how to get your anxiousness and your stress under control. If you're feeling anxious and you're feeling stressed constantly, you're overworked, first of all, it's going to raise cortisol up in your body, which is your alert hormone, your stress hormone, and that's going to create some umbilical fat around your stomach. You're going to get that just from being stressed out. That's why people typically get older and get it. But figure out ways to get rid of the stress in your life. One of the biggest causes of our stress in our life is our phones. I would encourage you to get rid of your phone as much as possible. Just get it out of your hands. Put it in a box when you walk at home. Be present with your family. When you go on walks, don't bring it with you. Shut the phone off when it's not work time and just get away from it. Social media is so addictive. It's drawing you to it. That phone is just a living, breathing stress ball, so get rid of it as much as you can. I would encourage you to do a few things, just the last tips to kind of close this video. I encourage you to just walk without headphones. Go on walks without things in your ears for time to time and just hear nature, hear cars, hear conversations around you. You'd be surprised how peaceful that is, since all of us always have AirPods or some version of Bose headphones on. Sleep well. Again, I would encourage you to try something like different sleep apps. There's an app called Sleep Cycle that helps track your sleep to know what's causing sleep, how many times you go up to the bathroom, what's causing problems in your rest. It's a good app for you, Sleep Cycle. Try a meditation app like Abide is a good Christian meditation app that I like to use. Helps you meditate over verses. You can use Calm as well. Calm's another good one. I typically avoid the over spiritual ones, but there's plenty of good apps or meditations on Calm that are actually really, really good and you might enjoy. And so I would encourage you to do that. I think it's important for all of us to think about health. I think it's an underthought about, underutilized, under-resourced part of the Christian faith that I think most people don't even think about. But God gives us our bodies to steward, and if we're going to live this life, we might as well do it as best we can. This might sound like a lot of work, but once you internalize all of this, it's actually not very difficult to follow. So I encourage you, use these 6 health hacks to dive deeper into your faith, dive deeper into yourself, and just uncover the real you. I'm convinced that most of us haven't lived an optimal life and felt the way God intended us to feel because we're so bogged down with the way we eat and the way we sleep. And so do these things and kind of unlock your health for yourself. And I think you're going to find that life's a lot more enjoyable going forward. Thanks for watching this video. Will you do me a favor? Would you like and subscribe to this channel, because that will help us get more information out about Christian health. I hope this is beneficial to you. I'll see you next time.